guys, are we back now? Hopefully we're back on Haunted Live Podcast. Again, fully apologize for the issues that we had. Who knows? We've been having a lot of issues here with our internet as well. It's been going off and on for the last little while. I think it's due to the fact that everybody is at home streaming stuff all the time constantly now, so I think that's having an overload on the whole system, and everything is causing things to go wonky. So again, we fully apologize, especially to our guest that we have on tonight. I know she's anxiously waiting patiently by herself there over in the UK. We have a very special guest today with you guys here. We are Haunting Live Podcast, and we normally go out to different locations when we do the podcast, but lately we've been isolated like everybody else and have not had time and able to go out to do paranormal investigations. So instead what we do is our Haunting Live Podcast from home, which is our isolation podcast. And we are now in week 12. So thank you everybody that's been tuning in over the last several weeks while they've been stuck at home as well. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning in and watching our shows that we do. And we greatly thank you for following us. Other bit of news that we have that we want to share with you guys, we've been talking about last 2 or 3 weeks or so, is our brand new website that we have posted up. We relaunched that a couple weeks back, and it has all social media feeds on it. It has Facebook feeds, Twitter feeds. You can get our events when we do public event tickets. You can get that directly through our Eventbrite link on our website and buy tickets directly from our website now, which is great. You don't have to go anywhere else. And we also have our YouTube channel directly on our webpage, so go check out our website when you get a chance. And don't forget to please join our mailing list. We also now have a brand new mailing list option on the website as well. It's right on the main page. Just scroll down sort of to the middle and you'll see the fields to fill in for the mailing list. And what we'll be doing shortly is, once we get some emails on our list, is send you guys notifications of upcoming events, upcoming guests that are going to be on our podcast, stuff like that. So you'll be first notified before we do any other postings on social media. So email gets first, then social media once we get some email lists coming in. So go check that out and sign up for our list and stuff. And yeah, we'll hopefully check out our website and let us know what you think of the brand new website, which is HauntingLivePodcast.com, or you can also still get it at the original domain of ogpsfilming.ca as well. So
people are asking those, can they ask questions tonight?
Not tonight. Tonight is going to be a straight up interview style podcast with our special guest, just because she's all the way from the UK and we had a few technical issues. We don't want to take up any more of her time, so we're going to just get right into the interview questions with her. And later on, you can send us questions, maybe possibly after, and we can see if we can pass any on to her that she's willing to look at. But directly tonight, we are going to say no to any questions, but we hope you guys do enjoy the podcast. We do have a couple questions lined up for her that we're going to be interviewing her, and we hope those questions will fulfill what you guys have been wanting to ask as well. So with that, let's go and give her a call, since she's been waiting a little while, and bring her into our podcast tonight. So tonight our special guest is Jackie Dennison from the TV show Rescue Mediums. So let's give her a call. Just bear with us while we try to reach Jackie. Looking at all either.
Don't worry about the video right now. Just ask questions.
Are you loud now?
Yeah, you're very loud now.
Okay, this is really strange. We're having a lot of interference here. What do you want to do? Do you want to continue and ask a few questions then, or do you want to try something else?
No, sure. I'm just going to take these off because I hate wearing these headphones. So I'm just going to take them
now.
Okay.
Okay.
But your picture's still, don't worry about the picture.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, as long as you can hear me and they can hear me.
Yeah.
That's the important part. Like, my picture's frozen on my side and you're fine. So that's the important part. So
yeah.
Okay. Again, we fully apologize for these issues. Of course, it has to happen when we're trying to interview you all the way from the UK. So I don't know honestly what the issue is.
I'm not surprised because this happens to me all the time. I can go in stores and set alarms off, and you know it just happens all the time. So I'm not surprised that this is happening right now.
Right.
Jackie, Chris here. I'm going to burn some Palo Santos.
Chris is going to do a quick smudge in our place, and hopefully that might clear some energy up.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. Fire away.
Alrighty. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Jackie, for taking time out of your schedule to be here and join us on Haunting Live Podcast. We really appreciate it, especially with all the technical issues today.
That's okay. Thank you for asking me. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, we fully appreciate it, and again, I fully apologize as well. All right. First of all, how are things over there in the UK? How have things been for the last couple of weeks there?
Well, we're just about coming out of the lockdown now, so things are easing up slightly. But I'm not opening my business in Northwich, Feathers. I'm not opening that until Thursday of next week.
Okay.
And only then. I'm still only doing Skype readings. And I'm reading for people who are already pre-booked there and they don't have Skype or Zoom or anything else. So, but I'm limiting it, and because Feathers is so small, we're only allowing one person in at a time. So it's just about being careful, isn't it? Really?
Yes, definitely, for sure. And for those that don't know, you have a little shop there called Feathers Academy. And what do you do out of your shop there?
I do readings there, so spiritual readings. I teach there along with Steve Furlong. I believe you've got Steve on in a couple of weeks.
We do, yes.
As a guest on your show. And so we're both spiritual teachers, so we teach psychic development. I do past life regression there as well.
Okay.
We've got Reiki healers there. We've got soul healers there. There's quite a lovely group, a mix of people who make up the Feathers family, and we have a little shop, so we sell crystals and cards, smudge sticks, all your spiritual stuff that you need.
Right, all the tools of the trade, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's great. Hopefully sometime we'll be able to get over there to the UK, because that's one place I want to check out, and we'll come visit your shop one time, see what you have. So
you'll be very welcome.
Yeah, definitely. All right, now let's start talking a little bit about the show itself, where people know you from mostly, which is Rescue Mediums. Mm-hmm. I know personally a little bit about how you were found for the show, how you were found out to be on the show, but maybe people don't really know how you got your start on it. Not to go too much into it, but let's go into just a little bit about how you actually were found out for the show.
Okay, well, the show really was born as a result of spirit intervention. So I was doing family history. I love doing my family history, and I was looking into the history of my great-grandfather to see where he'd gone. The story was he'd emigrated from England to Canada. And during the course of my research, I met a lady called Jean, who lives in Canada, and we share the same 2 times great-grandparents. So when I did the search for my great-grandfather, I came across Jean. And so we combined our forces, and she did the research in Canada, I did the research in England, so that we could put things together. And one of the places that she found my great-uncle went to, not my great-grandfather, but his brother, was a place in Toronto. There's quite a few places in Toronto. So she contacted one of the people who lived in one of the houses to see if he knew anything about the history of the house and the family that lived there. And the family was the Hamlet family. And that person turned out to be Michael Lamport, who is now the producer and director, narrator and writer of Rescue Mediums. But at the time, she said to him, I have a cousin in England. She's been on the TV. She does psychic work. You know, maybe you should get her to check out the ghosts in your house. And so that's where the idea was born. Through that. So Michael sort of sat on that idea for about 6 months, and then he spoke to his business partner, Gregory Shepherd, and they gave me a call, and both of them came over to England to meet myself and Christine, and watched us filming. In fact, they had a little handheld camera, and we were filming in Derby, a place called the Moon Hotel in Derby, and they took the film footage back with them to Canada, and W Network absolutely fell in love with it and said, yeah, let's have a series. So that's how it all started. So family history is where it all started. I can't say that I have a favorite location or a least favorite location, because I've been to some amazing places in Ontario and also in Nova Scotia, and each one that we've been to has its own draw to it, whether it's just a beautiful location or whether it's the property that we go to that really holds a special place in your heart. So it wouldn't be fair of me to say that I have a special location, that I really like. Can tell you one thing though. The very first time I got off the plane to film the show, the very first time, I couldn't believe the air quality, how good the air quality was. And that actually stayed with me. That it's like, oh my God, I want more of this air. It's so good. And so that stayed with me. But the weather conditions are so severe, aren't they, at times? And I think probably one of the worst weather conditions that I've ever experienced is your frozen rain. We don't have frozen rain in if you said frozen rain to somebody in England, they'd go, oh, you mean, it's like hailstones. No, it's not like hailstones. Frozen rain actually freezes as it hits the ground, and so that's scary. And of course the snow. We've been we stayed in one location, St Mary's, in a hotel. Got up the next day, and we had to get a snow plow to come and to get us out of the building because we were all trapped in the building. So that was an experience, a real experience. I think one of the most difficult that I've ever encountered was with Steve Furlong here in England, and that one was we'd gone to this. It's an old property, and the people who lived there, their teenage daughter had a boyfriend who stayed over from time to time, and he'd been literally pushed down the stairs. He would be sleeping on the settee downstairs. He'd been pushed off. He'd been scratched. There was a lot of negative feeling in the house, and they felt as though they were being watched. So we went in to take a look. There was three mediums, myself and Steve and another lady, and we got in there, and I'll just cut it short because it goes on forever, this story. But the man that was doing the haunting was a minister, but he was a minister. He would have been a travelling minister, and he had very strong, very strong religious beliefs, and he did not approve of this young teenage lad staying over. And so we had to join with the family in a circle with the boy there as well, myself and Steve and the other medium, to try and bring this male spirit into the centre so that we could explain to him, that it's okay, it's all supervised, and mum and dad are there supervising him. We tried to negotiate with him, but he pushed straight past us and went to the young lad, and he punched him in the nose, and we literally, everybody just saw the blood just pour. It was like something you could see. It was a physical punch, and there was blood everywhere on his face. And the other medium ran out, leaving me and Steve to deal with it. And we had to contain the spirit whilst we were trying to get him away from this young lad. We did, but it took an awful lot. And when we did detach him, he then tried to attack Steve. And Steve's going, "Don't you let him in! Don't you let him in!" So, of course, he was shouting to his spirit guide to say not let him in. But that was one of the nastiest I think I've ever been to, where you can really physically see something happening. Because it takes a lot, as you know, for spirit to make that sort of an impact. But yeah, I would say that's the nastiest one I've ever experienced. Yeah, that was in Cheshire, where I live, not far from where I live, probably about half an hour from where I live. It's a tied cottage, so it was tied to a castle. So it was a little old cottage. There is a lot of history in England, and I know when we say something is old, we're talking of, like, 13, 1400s, 1500s here in England, and I know it's not the same in Canada. However, the history in Canada is you go to native, and so you've still got that, because the land would have still been there. It's a different way of dealing with things. But yeah, we have some characters in England. I'm one of them. With the battles, like the 1812 battle. But you know what was so lovely was that we had helpers, we had spirit helpers with that, and it was the land prior to that had been with the Aboriginals or First Nations. I'm not quite sure of the correct terminology these days. But we had help from them to help us to deal with the situation. And that's happened quite a lot in Canada, because they are very, very spiritual people, have a great understanding of what, the earth and what matters with looking after the earth and honouring, the mother and the father. And so, yeah, we've come across a lot of help in that way, with spirit help in that way. That episode was, it came about in a very bizarre way, that episode, and I did not know this at the time. In fact, I didn't know about it until fairly recently, when Edna, who is our director of research for the show, told us how she found that particular episode, because normally people would write into the producers of the show and say, this is, I've got a haunting, this is, and then they'd go out to the house. But what happened in that case, we'd been let down with, at the last minute, with a show that we were supposed to be doing. Of course, we don't know where we're going. Christine and I didn't know, and Alison and I don't know where we're going in advance. And so Edna had gone past this house and thought, oh, do you know what? That really looks like a house that we could work at. So she went up and knocked on the door and said, do you think the rescue mediums would be able to help you with anything right now? And the guy said, well, yeah, I've got a problem. And so that's how that started with that episode, was by Edna going and knocking on the door. But I really truly believe, and so does she, that Spirit had got her to go and do that because they knew that there was a problem. And that episode, even though it's condensed, because everything has to be condensed into such a tight time, it took forever to try and communicate with the guy that was moving the chandelier, and then the bat flew out, which totally took us by surprise. It was like they were trying to distract us all the time, because he did not really want to communicate with us. So what you don't see in the final episode is us sitting down and taking breaks, trying to communicate with him to find out what his story was, so that we could piece it all together. So yeah, there was more than one bat episode, but they condensed it, and it looks very contrived. It looks like, the bat was put in afterwards, or it wasn't. It was exactly as it happened. So yeah. Yeah. You know that big chandelier that was moving in that episode? We tried to recreate that by moving it ourselves to see, and there was some weight in that. There's no way that, you know, if anybody was walking about upstairs, which they weren't, but would the vibration have caused it to move? You know, we tried everything to see if we could recreate it, because you've got to, as you know, because you do investigations yourself, you've got to rule things out. You've got to rule out what is humanly happening or physically happening as opposed to what is spiritually happening. And so that's what we did with that. You don't see that in the episode. The other thing we were going to do in that episode, which we didn't because we didn't have time, was we were going to do the regression on Steve, the homeowner. We were going to do that regression with him, but you know, we knew we just wouldn't have the time, so we just suggested that he see a past life regression therapist to see if he could find out who this spirit was, who had been following him through centuries, you know.
And do you know if he ever had that done? Do you know if he went to
Do you know? No, I don't know. I don't, and we try and follow up as much as we can do, and that's one of the things that we are hoping to do, because Michael and Gregory have been. They've done a few episodes where they followed up. They've gone in and followed up, so I know that's something that they are working on for, you know, future, because we try and keep in touch with as many as the homeowners as we can just to see how they're going on. But that's one that we haven't. So maybe a slap on the wrist. I need to get in touch and find out. We're working on it. That's all I can say. Because it's not down to us. We're all ready and willing to go on this. But you obviously need funding. So the funding comes from the broadcaster. And so we need a broadcaster, please. Yes, thank you. To fund the show so that we can do some more. But we're hopeful. Yeah, we're hopeful. We meet regularly. Alison and I and Michael and Edna. We're doing a behind the scenes show at the moment. We've just finished episode 5, and that's going out next week. And that's like this. You know, it's just a chat thing where we invite viewers to write in and say, you know, this is my question, this is what I'd like to know about. So some of the questions are for Michael, you know, the producer. Some are for Edna, who is the head of research. Some are for Alison and I, and our thoughts and feelings on the show. Some really interesting questions, and we're all enjoying meeting up, even though we're in, you know, Alison's in Spain and I'm in England. And of course, Edna and Michael are both in Canada, so we have to make it work time zone wise for all of us when we do that on Zoom, and that's going out in different parts. So we're just going to keep going with that. It's great for lockdown.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next, actually, was if you were working on any.
That has come from the lockdown situation and the fact that we're all wanting to do something, we're all wanting to make a difference. So this was the only thing we can do. I've actually got into a little bit of editing, which is new to me. So I'm editing the behind the scenes episodes. So I record them and I'm editing them. So I'm enjoying that. That's really new. But with other stuff, I did some filming with Steve Furlong a while ago. It's a show. We've done a few actually, but this one is connecting to myths and legends and things like that, and hauntings. And so we've got all the footage to that, and Steve's doing the editing with that. So we're hoping that that's going to go out, if that goes out, because that was filmed prior to lockdown. And we've got another one that we filmed, which is just I can't tell you too much about it, but it's just a group of people that we get together, young people that we get together, and Steve and I are the mentors with the group. It's like a tutorial. It's a tutorial, but it's actual experience tutorial. So that's all I can tell you about that one at the moment. And I'm working on cold cases, which is something that I've always enjoyed doing, you know. So whether it's here or whether it's in Canada, I've worked on one in America as well, but it's mainly Canadian.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, well, that's about all the questions I had for you listed here tonight, Jackie. Just wanted to say thank you very much again for coming on to Haunting Live Podcast. We do greatly appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule to come and join us here tonight. And even though we have some technical issues, we'd love to have you back on again sometime.
I'd love to, yeah.
Hopefully get things working 100% by that time. So.
Yeah, I need to do a cheers to you with my special glass. There we go. Okay, my darling. Well, you know, enjoy the rest of your day.
Subscribe to OGPS Filming /HauntingLIVE. Check us out online, across the internet, live at Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.